Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Tachiai podcast. Joining me from Tokyo is our man in foreign lands, the ambassador of Tachiai. It's none other than Josh. Hi, Josh.
Ohio, good morning. It's good to be here.
So Josh has been in Tokyo for a bit, and he actually did attend the Basho already. Tell us a little bit about your trip to the Kokugi-Con.
It's amazing. I found that we have Tachiai listeners and readers in the Kokugi-Con, which was an amazing experience and discovery.
Tell the story. Tell the story.
Yeah, as I rocked up, I was popping out because there's always that one Rikishi in the top division who you look at and you're like, this is just not going to be the exciting match. And for me, it's almost always Koto Echo. Sorry, Koto Echo. They're just not always the most exciting matches. So I popped out to get some snacks, and one of the Tachiai readers and friends of the site working at Kokugi-Con recognized me, and we had a little chat, and hopefully I'll be able to say hi again later in the tournament. So that's great. So hello.
I'm sorry, I'm blown away by that, Josh. That's just amazing. So you did something similar to what I've done every time I've attended sumo in Tokyo. That's to work with this company called BuySumoTickets.com to get your tickets. And tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so they're a great site, as we know. I just actually discovered them through one of your earlier experiences, and before you'd posted on Tachiai about them, I would get up on the night that tickets went on sale, and I would try and buy them through the Sumo Association, which is really difficult through their website. So it's a great service that they provide to people like us who may live in another country and come over to Japan. And so, as we've been fortunate to talk to people from the sumo community over the years, and spend more time over here, it's opened up access to talk to even more folks. And I was fortunate this week to sit down with the folks from Buy Sumo Tickets and have a chat, which we will run on the site in October before tickets go on sale for the next tournament in Tokyo.
Great.
In January. So when it's time to promote that, we'll publicize that chat on the site. But we were talking, and one thing led to another, and they had said, listen, we've got an extra ticket for day 6. Do you want to go? Awesome. And I said, sure. And it had something special on the back of the ticket, which I'd never seen, which was a ticket to get the special lunch and souvenir box set that comes from
cool.
They have these partnerships with these tea houses. And if you're like me, you've been to Kokugi-Con, and there's like an alleyway inside of the stadium that has all these tea houses that have gift bags, and I never experienced that. I didn't know what was in those, and so I was able to get one of those for the first time, and took a bunch of photos that I'll upload to the site, and the souvenir gift that they gave me, which was like a mug that had a list of all 72 Yokozuna, so that was like a really cool souvenir. Yeah, so thanks to those guys for hooking that up.
Wow. So, I mean, even for hardcore fans like the readers of our site, many of them have not cracked that puzzle. So you've kind of stepped into an undiscovered country, Josh. That's really damn amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was a really illuminating conversation that we had. We talked a lot about who the customers are who are even interested in buying sumo tickets and who come to sumo, and who the foreign fans are. And the thing to me that was super illuminating was the majority of these people are just people who have booked a trip to Japan. They've already booked their flights. They've already booked their hotel. They don't know anything about sumo. And sometimes they buy tickets for a basho that's in another city, and they rock up to the Kokugi-Con. So the thing that it told me was, man, Bruce, we've got a lot of work to do to convert folks to knowledgeable fans before they come to Japan. So we're going to double down on Tachiai, and we're going to try and bring even more heat so that we can do our part.
That's amazing. So I'll admit that almost every time I go to the Kokugi-Con, I sit next to people like that who just more or less decided at the spur of the moment they wanted to go see sumo. And I'm a kind of gregarious guy, as no one could have ever guessed. I end up usually trying to explain to them what the heck is going on. And people, once they've got a guide, they really get into it. And so, yeah, I think that there's a lot of room for all of us, because I think the number of Tachiai readers who end up going to Sumo is sort of ticking up a bit at a time. To reach out to some of these people who are, shall we call them, Sumo curious, and and explain to them what it's all about. But yeah, that's great. So you've been in the venue to see some of the phenomena. One of the things that just amazes me as I'm watching, even the NHK English feed, which for some reason turns down the crowd noise. The Japanese feed, it's, you're getting the full throttle of what's going on, is the crowd reaction to Enho. It is almost unlike anything save when Matake Yumi has his army in the Kokugi-kan. Talk to us a little bit about what that's like.
So it's a really good segue because multiple foreign fans who are just seeing sumo for the first time already, halfway through this tournament have asked me, what's the story with him? Yeah. Who is this guy? Why are so many people cheering for him? And so for folks that have never seen sumo before and for whom it's a really eye-opening experience, like the difference in the decibel level in the arena when he comes up is really noticeable, and it gets their attention. And even if you don't know anything, you know that something special or exciting is about to happen. Yeah. And so that, to your point, has given me the opportunity to go, you've got to watch this. Like, I promise you, like, something exciting is going to happen. And, so far there hasn't been really more than maybe one day in this tournament where it's been a really quick match that's been over. Like, he's really brought his best, I think, every time.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch the guy. Is that he just continues to impress, and this Basho, it's another step change in his level of sumo. Now, does that mean that some really enthusiastic fans like to try to predict that their new favorite whomever is going to be Yokozuna or Ozeki? I think that he has a role to play in sumo that goes a long way towards being sort of the ultimate spoiler. A lot like what Yoshikaze was at his height, which is you never, ever assume you've got this, because he could open up a can of whoop ass and put you away on any given day.
Yeah. So I think what's really interesting, like on the Japanese side of things, I mean, NHK covers him from the moment he gets on the Hanamichi.
Oh yeah.
And the only other guy they do that for right now is Takakeisho. And the Enho cheer towels are everywhere. I mean, the last time that I was at Kokugi-kan, May, for the Natsu Basho, even at that point, he was still very much the hipster's choice. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, when I would get cred from locals when I was sitting in like the box seat, for knowing who he was and for cheering for him. And those days are over. He is mainstream, as we say in the music business. He is crossed over to top 40. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. He is very popular. He's very mainstream. To your point, listen, he's 5-3. He's not going to be a factor in the Yusho race at this point, no matter how much we want it. But it's been a real party atmosphere, and I think the takeaway for me, just watching him and to the points that you just made, is we have to hope and pray that he stays healthy, because no matter what, sumo needs the excitement that he brings in a period where, and we'll get into this, the traditional heroes are nowhere to be seen.
Oh, or worse. Or worse. All right, so let's talk about some more new hero stuff. Let's talk about sort of my favorite of the new heroes, which is Takakeisho. He is in a deep hole. I mean, he's been doing well, but he is still in a deep hole. And I think it will come down to the wire. So LK Sumo, that bastard, posted something on a thread just today about how he dreads the thought of a possible 7-7 Tochinoshin against a 9-5 Takakeisho on day 15. And I was like, oh no, oh please don't let that happen. So Takakeisho gets a lot of press from NHK, and I think it's well deserved, because he's this sort of super cool, always level, nothing's ruffling his feathers. He comes out and he plays Pango every time. But give me a little feedback on Takakeisho, because the last time I was I was in the Kokugi-Con. He was like that first stage of Enho. He wasn't a thing yet. Go for it, Josh.
Sure. Well, I mean, to the point you made about LK Sumo's comment, I mean, traditionally you'd have the top two rankers going for it on Senshiraku, but my goodness, Goeido against Tochinoshin would be desperately disappointing. So perversely, you almost want to see that match for him against Takakeisho.
A Darwin match with Takakeisho.
Yeah, I mean,
oh dear.
For what's going on here, though, man, I mean, it's clear he is the story right now because it's more compelling his quest for 10 than the Yusho race, and NHK, to their credit, recognizes that. Now, I think that they're taking it too far to the point where NHK, even when Endo is on the dohyo, and we know how much people love Endo and all the background and fan noise is happening, they, rather than showing Endo about to do a match, they'll just show Takakeisho in the Hanamichi or sitting on a cushion, and you're like, come on. But, everyone recognizes that his 10 wins is the most compelling storyline. I think that on the one hand, you can look at that and say that Takakeisho sitting on a cushion being the main story is a bad indictment of where things are at. But on the other hand, it's because he is seen as the future and someone that people who are fans of the sport can dream on.
Yes.
And a comment that you made on Tachiai a few days ago, probably like day 4 or 5, in the match highlights, was that we've been talking about the transition in sumo longer than most people. But the thing that for people to remember is it's a slow transition. We've been talking about it for almost 2 years, and it's probably going to be almost another 2 years before it's fully into the new era, right?
I would agree.
Yeah, with the Yokozuna gone and maybe there's a new Yokozuna. And so while very few members of the new class, whether it's the Tadpole guys like the Mitakayumis and the Ono shows, or you call the freshman category, or the small guy sumo, like very few of those guys have like really strongly put their hands up and said, I'm going to be one of the leaders of the future. Takakeisho has done that. He's got promoted to Ozeki once, and the hope is that he can cement himself as a top star. And so this is a key moment for that,
Yeah. So, all right, you stepped right in it. So let's talk about Asanoyama, the Morning Light Mountain. He's put his hands up. I think that he's a humble guy, right? So I spotted from the time he showed up. Yeah. It was notable that he was humble, right? He had humility. He had excellent sumo manners. And even when he was getting his head handed to him, he was just happy to be on the dohyo doing sumo. And now he's evolved into this emerging powerhouse, this Yatsu-driven machine. And I think that he's got a lot of potential to, let's just say I think that we may see an Ozeki attempt his first. Most people don't make their first, but we may see his first next year. And a lot of people are going to be very excited about it. Tell me about Asanoyama. He doesn't seem to have the same crowd reaction as some of the other guys.
It's definitely increased, for sure. I mean, this tournament, again, way more cheer towels and way more folks out for Asanoyama than in the past. Part of that, obviously, this is the first Basho in Tokyo since he won the championship in Tokyo in May. So that may have an impact on that. The thing that comes to mind about Asanoyama is something that's a little bit under the radar when you talk about projecting a Rikishi and looking at where they are now and maybe where they could go. It's not, can they grab somebody by the belt and throw them 10 yards? It's not, can you lift somebody up and carry them over the bales? To me, it's poise. And are they poised when they're there? Do they know where they are? Yep. Are they in control of their body and in control of the opponent? And that's what separates someone like Asanoyama on the Yotsu side from someone like an Ichinojo, right? Who once he's going backwards, he's out of, he can't stop that backwards momentum. It's on the Oshi side when you look at because you step to the side and all of a sudden he goes flying. He doesn't have poise, and that's something that Asanoyama has, and he has it. He has buckets of poise. So To me, that's the biggest thing. All the other things, that you look at for someone who can be an Ozeki, a lot of those things come with experience and with time and with
Oh yeah.
fighting the top guys over and over.
Well, he's going to have a bit of a problem because I think we're going to have a dearth of top guys pretty soon.
Well, I'll have to be the top guy.
Yeah. Well, this has happened in the past where suddenly, over a period of maybe a year, all of your mainstay top talent more or less evaporates. But we won't get into that now. So speaking of top talent that's on the ropes, dear old Tochinoshin. We worried about him when he was walking up to the point where he would be anointed as an Ozeki, is that this guy has suffered a lot to get where he was, and being an Ozeki just heaped that suffering higher and deeper. And now every match he gets up there, you can see him when he comes up, and when he leaves, he's limping. But he gets up there and he does sumo as best he can. He's in tough shape. Thoughts about Tochinoshin, Josh?
Yeah, you said give it a little bit of the old Ikkyoi there, right? Like
too much Ikkyoi, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, too much. Though, hey, credit to Ikkyoi, by the way, we should comment. He's very much as we record this, the Yusho leader down there in Juryo.
But much respect to Ikkyoi. The guy is never stop.
But Tochinoshin's not in Juryo, so that is the problem.
And
for
he's
him.
an Ozeki, and he's got to make his 8 to not end up where Takakeisho is now.
Yeah, so as we're recording this, he's 3-5. It's looking like a really bad, rough path for him because he still has Mitakeumi, Takakeisho, and Goeido to come. That being said, if Mitakeumi lets him walk through him, as Mitakeumi did with Takakeisho on day 8, then maybe it's not so bad, but it feels like a rough road. The thing that I really wonder is, does that Hansoku disqualification for grabbing Abi's top knot end up being the one loss that costs him in the end?
There are so many bad outcomes here. You and LK Sumo just need to sit down and write them all down and then throw them away, please, okay?
Just be depressing with each other.
I know, man.
When I get back to LA, that's what we'll do.
I don't want to see a bad outcome here because to be completely fair, you want a heroic character to at least have a hero's end.
Absolutely. But I can tell you is I am back at KakugiCon next on day 12, and I am going to have to buy the Tochinoshin bento and review it for the site, because we may not get another chance, because what I noticed is with Takakeisho, they were merciless when it comes to taking those out of rotation as soon as they lose their Ozeki rank.
There's no Takakeisho bento now?
No, it is out. So if he comes back to Ozeki, they will put it back in circulation, but I don't think if Tochinoshin drops to Ozeki Wake, the Sekiwake rank, where he's gonna basically get his 10 wins to come back, it's not happening. So I've got to get that bento box now, because otherwise it's the last chance.
So unlike Takakeisho, where he's got he swallowed hard, he said I'm going to take the long hard path and I'm going to do what's necessary. I don't actually know if there's a medical solution at this point for what is ailing Tochinoshin's already horrifically damaged knee. I think, having seen people go through, knee surgery and recovery, it's kind of a one and done. I'm surprised that Ura is having a second shot at it, because normally they won't do that. I'm really worried that this is sort of, it's not even going to be like Koto Shogiku, where he drops down into Meiji Shira's ranks. It's like you stop or you lose your leg sort of thing. Yeah. I'm really worried about the guy.
It's going to be an interesting one, because we talked about this a little bit in the last podcast that we did. But if you're someone who wants to stay in sumo and maximize the earning that you're going to get from that, if you're him, you kind of have to approach it a little bit strategically and look at it and go, okay, what is going to give me the best chance to do that? Yeah. Either to stay at this rank, which may or may not be possible, and we will see, or simply to have the lightest fall down towards whatever that inevitable retirement in Tai looks like, and be able to maximize the earnings that he has from his career, his wins, his kinboshi, I think he may have a few of. I'd have to look at that, but in his case, I said this on the site not too long ago. he has a better chance now of getting 8 than he will of getting 10 in the next tournament,
Yes.
certainly. So while it's easy to look at him and be like, man, why is this dude even in this tournament? This cannot be good for him. This is his chance. He doesn't have to fight.
This is his best chance to hold on.
Yeah,
it really is.
He doesn't have to fight Takayasu. Like, Goedo may or may not show up. Takayumi, we thought was going to just steamroll the rest of these guys. He's showing signs of mental weakness. So, it's very possible that Tochinoshin may be able to squeak it through, but he's got some tough matches coming up, and he has very little margin for error.
So one of the reasons he's got an easier path is that we are once again without any Yokozuna. I mean, this is what happens when you get to the sort of twilight of these guys' careers is that the injuries become more prevalent. It's tougher to fight your way through. Kakuryu injured his MCL, which for people who don't know what that is, that's the ligament that runs through the middle of the knee joint and keeps your lower leg attached to your thigh bone. There's not, I haven't seen any word yet on how serious, if it's just a sort of bruise or if it's bad. I mean, a bad injury at this stage of his career to his MCL, and he's basically done. Thoughts about the fading of our last 2 Yokozuna?
Yeah, both of these guys are 34, and I think the concern is almost less about them and more about the folks that have kind of failed to, like the Takayasus of the world, to sort of complete their rope run or even get it started, and that has kind of brought a greater spotlight on guys like Kakuryu who, again, at 34, we should be looking at, sending them off gracefully into the sunset, and this guy's had an amazing career. And I'll give you a couple anecdotes from recent conversations that I've had, one which has made it onto the site and one which is going to come onto the site fairly soon. And we'll start with the second one. So I had this really illuminating conversation with Murray Johnson, and I've almost finished transcribing 80 minutes of it, which is insane. I don't know, like, if the conversation that I had with Kintamayama was 5 parts and Tachiai is maybe like 10 parts, but he makes a comment in that interview about how he thinks like the Soken is completely useless. And the thing that's like really tough is on current balance, you have to agree, because no matter how good these guys look, 10 days before the tournament, they're cherry picking their opponents. Kakuryu does 10 rounds to Abi and he pummels them. Kakuryu does a load of matches against the other top rankers and he looks great. And then you and I sit here before the tournament and we both said these guys are going to be the favorites to win this Basho.
Oh, sure.
Right? And they both end up with varying degrees of injury. Hakuho's got a broken finger. So, as I said a few minutes ago, I still think we're looking at around up to 1 to 2 more years before that transition out of their era and into the next one is complete. But, these guys are just going to continue to carry on popping in and out if no one else can take up the mantle. The other anecdote, which we did run on the site recently, was the conversation with Kintamayama. Yeah. And Moti made a point which was a little bit of a flashpoint in that interview. Yep. And he said, if Hakuho goes, there's no responsible adult.
That's right.
Kakuryu's been anything but a responsible adult. And he really caught some hell from that, from commenters on the site. But I think what's happened is in this tournament is he's been proved right the sense that, Kakuryu bleeds 3 straight Kinboshi. Hakuho's gone. Nobody looks like they want to win a championship. Right. All credit to Okinoumi for being standing alone at the top of the title race going into day 9 here. But you're looking for an experienced Sanyaku veteran to really lead the title challenge, and we haven't seen that. Right. And I think Moti's been proved right.
I think you're right, and it was very provocative when it came up. I looked at that, I said, oh my goodness, this one's going to get a reaction. But I mean, it once again shows that the man knows his sumo. But I've got to think about Takayasu. I mean, beyond the fact that this would have been a cherry opportunity for him, I've got to wonder how badly injured that elbow is, and is he actually going to be in a position at any time to make a return? We're getting a little doomy here, but he did not look appreciably better just before Aki than he did following just after Nagoya. Has there been any word at all about Takayasu?
Not that I've heard. I haven't seen a lot of coverage of him or what's been going on with him or even people talking about him.
Well, during the Basho, the people who aren't competing keep a low profile, but...
Yeah, of course. One thing that I think is really important to keep in mind about Takayasu, and, he's obviously been someone who I think most people have started to measure their expectations of, certainly on the NHK various programs. They've started to say, hey, look, maybe this is not going to be the story that we all thought it was. But, in fairness to him, even if he does go on to win a tournament, you have to remember this is a guy who I think in January is going to be 30.
Yeah.
And so he's already approaching a new phase of his career. Now, granted, Kisano Sato didn't win his first title till he was in his 30s. Tochinoshin won his first Basho in his 30s. The other folks have done that as well recently.
Yep.
So that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't go on and can't have success. But when you start to talk about, as we've said now several times, even in this conversation, that in a year or 2 years from now, we're looking at a whole new era,
Right.
He may well be a participant in that era. And he probably still has a few years of good sumo left, and what that looks like, we see.
If he can get his body back, yes.
Yeah, but it's, the guys who are, 24, 25, 26, who are at their peak, even Hokuto Fuji now is 27.
Yeah.
But, Takakeisho, 23, Asanoyama in his mid-20s, Mitakeumi in his mid to late 20s. These are the guys who are in their prime,
Yep.
who should be the stars of that next era. And so for Takayasu, I think at this point it's about, can he play a part? Maybe his ceiling is that Kaio kind of figure who is a longtime Ozeki. He's Kataban a few times, and hopefully for him that means he can win a couple tournaments along the way as well.
Right. By the way, I think that would be a great outcome regardless.
For sure.
So all of our favorites, oh God, I can't say this. Andy's the only one who still has his title pick still in the race, and it's freaking Endo. Endo's in the group that's 2 losses behind Okino at this point. Now that your pick and my pick are watching from sitting on a tatami mat in a giant screen, who do you think might be a good choice for the Yusho now that we've got this crazy setup?
Man alive. It's really anybody's game. I wouldn't say that there's anybody who you can say is the actual favorite right now.
No.
As I said earlier, I would have thought going into day 8 action that Mitakeumi really had a chance to stamp his authority on the tournament. He did anything but. That match, the immediate reaction I had when I saw Takakeisho beat Mitakeumi was the immediate beneficiary of that match was Goeido, who then proved to Goeido himself potentially out of contention. 3 losses, by the way, does not rule you out of contention for this Yusho right now.
Not at this point, no.
No. Anything can happen, especially as the matches start to get harder for Okonomi and Meisei in the second week. But I can tell you who I would like to win the tournament.
Okay, let's try that.
I would like to see Asanoyama win the tournament.
Oh, wow.
And I think largely his sumo has been good. He's 2 off the pace right now, which puts him right in line with the other folks who you would expect to be competing with Mitakeumi. Takakeisho I don't think is going to really be a Yusho contender. Endo, to your point, my goodness, what would happen if he won the tournament? I do think that we will see a playoff.
Yeah.
I think that is something that's very likely.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. I think on the subject of Endo, without wishing to be a complete spoiler for the interview with Buy Sumo Tickets when that runs in a few weeks, one thing that was super interesting that came from that conversation was, we are starting to talk about when it became really difficult to obtain tickets for sumo and what those moments were in sumo that precipitated that. And I had just been under the assumption, because this is when I started, using them as a service as opposed to going through the Sumo Association, that it was the rise of Kisenosato and all of the hysteria around that. And they actually told me, no, it started a bit before that, with the rise of Endo in the top division. Yeah. And when he got, I think it was a Jun Yusho, and, he kind of just had his meteoric rise in his first few Basho. That was really the thing that, at least in this country, just created the rush for tickets that they hadn't seen before. So if he were able to really, maybe not even win it, but really contend all the way to the last day, I think that could just ratchet the fervor for sumo enthusiasm in this country up a degree further, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing.
I think it'd be a great thing.
Even if the interview might be.
I'd love to see like a 4-way 11-4
absolutely
end with to follow a round robin of 4 Rikishi, and one of them could even be Endo, right?
For sure.
Smacking each other around for the hardware. That would be. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that in a while, and it would be
great TV.
It would be great TV. Okay, so I think what we'll do here is we'll wrap it up now, Josh. Thank you very much for spending part of your morning from Tokyo with us. Everyone stay tuned for the final week of the Basho. This one is unhinged, and there's absolutely no way of knowing what on earth is going to happen. Josh, any parting words?
Time to crack open some whiskey, Bruce?
Oh boy, yes. It's Sunday night, and Wakiichiro's up in about an hour. So thank you, everyone. Take care, and for Sumo, it's Tachiai.